The career and life of Freddie Steinmark was brief yet brilliant. His tenacity is still remembered today, as his image is one of the last things the Texas football players see before taking the field inside the stadium where Freddie Steinmark became a star. His story reaches a national audience this November with the release of the feature film My All-American. But that story already available in print form right here with the story Freddie Steinmark, Faith, Family, Football. And we have the co-authors of the book, Yousse and Thomas Cryan, in studio to talk a little bit about the book and the life and career of Freddie Steinmark. First off, Bauer, what inspired you to start this project and bring this story to life?
I think the main reason was his mother wanted to make sure that her grandchildren and great-grandchildren knew who Freddie really was, because there wasn't really an accurate story told about him to date. And so she gave us full access to all the family archives. All of the family members, they were all very willing to share with us their memories of Freddie, and it was a time to do it.
And it's a very emotional story, Tom. How did the family manage and handle those emotions?
Well, you know, it's a struggle. It is a very emotional story, and it's difficult for them. But at the same time, especially, you know, when you think about the opportunities that came together with the movie coming out, with you know, the potential to tell the full and authentic story at this moment, it was very exciting.
And really here in Austin, we know the story of Steinmark, specifically when he arrived on campus here at the University of Texas. But Bauer, you grew up with Freddie Steinmark. You played high school football with Freddie Steinmark. When did you realize that there was something unique about him?
Well, I actually started playing football with him when we were about 8 years old.
Wow.
And even then, we all knew there was something about him that was really different than everybody else. He was the first one to practice. He was the last one to leave. He played every position. He was the punter. He was the punt returner. He tackled the hardest. He ran the fastest. He was the smartest. We all knew this kid is really special. And he was also undersized. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the big things about his whole story. With Darrell Royal was the one Division I coach who didn't see his size. Our high school coach, Red Coates, sent some film down here. Mike Campbell was a friend of his, and they started watching the film. And Coach Akers told us that when they watched that film, they called Freddie a 20-footer immediately. And I said, what's that? And he says, it takes 13.3 seconds to watch 20 feet of film. We knew right then, we got to go get this kid. And so he dispatched Coach Ellington and Coach Akers, Coach Royal did, to Colorado to talk to Freddie. They knocked on the door, and they knew he was undersized. They knock on the door, the kid answers the door, and they look at him, and they look past him, and they said, is your brother here? And Freddie turned around and said, Sammy, somebody's here to see you.
Like, nope, we're there for you.
Yeah.
How's he remembered in his story remembered back home in Colorado?
Oh, it's fantastic. There's an award in Colorado every year, the Fred Steinmark Award, that goes to the top senior boy and the top senior girl in Colorado for sports and academics and citizenship. It's been going on since 1971. It's a very prestigious award. It's the most prestigious award you can win.
How did Freddie Steinmark live the final few months of his life?
Bauer knows that story.
He lived 17 months, and he spent those 17 months trying to be of service to as many people as he could. He was asked to speak all over the place, make appearances. Everybody wanted to be attached to him because he was such an inspirational figure. Keep in mind, it was the Vietnam War then, the draft had happened, there was a lot of upheaval everywhere, and so Freddie was a point that people could focus on and feel good about in a compassionate way.
And also, what's amazing is, as you might remember, President Nixon was in the stands of that Arkansas-Texas game. And soon as Freddie had his leg amputated at MD Anderson, President Nixon called him. And shortly after that, President Nixon brought him to the White House and had him become a spokesperson for the American Cancer Society. And that was a big part of Freddie's, I think, focus, was to raise awareness about cancer. In fact, you know, it was Freddie who really ignited the national discussion on cancer and ignited the senators from Texas to put the National Cancer Act into play.
At his funeral, President Nixon's personal representative pulled Freddie's mother aside and said, is there anything the president can do to comfort you? And she said, there is. Ask him to fight cancer like he fights any other war.
Wow.
6 months later, he signed the National Cancer Act, and that began America's war on cancer.
So that legacy is one that really extends beyond the boundaries here of Austin, Texas. I've had an opportunity to see the film. Saw a screening of it. My 7-year-old son came with me, absolutely loved it, and all he wanted to talk about after watching that film was Freddie Steinmark. With that said, what do you hope is gained from this project between the book and between the film, My All-American?
Well, it's a dynamic time. It's a great opportunity to read the full story in the biography. It's a great opportunity to see the movie, as you say. Bauer, tell the story about Be Like Freddie in Wheat Ridge, because it's an example of his son.
At Wheat Ridge High School, where Freddie and I attended, homecoming week was 2 weeks ago. Every kid in the school wore a white jersey with a number 43 on it to the game, because that was his high school number. And Lowell, the game ended up a Wheat Ridge victory, 43-0. They believe Freddie's spirit is there protecting them all the time.
Well, the spirit lives on. The film is coming out in November, and you can pick up the book now. Freddie Steinmark, Faith, Family, Football. Bauer and Tom, thank you so much for both stopping by and sharing the story of Freddie Steinmark. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Will.
Coming up, Jordan Hicks is already one of the 5 best linebackers in the NFL. That's at least what one notable publication thinks. Hicks will explain the ease of his transition. And our hearts are heavy because Bevo has left the building. But our hearts are full because of our time with the big guy. Our favorite Bevo 14 moments ahead.